Now we're going to step into the part of this conversation that most people avoid. Not because it isn't important, but because it challenges how we want this to actually work. Now I want to say this clearly before we go any further. Everything I'm about to say is said with compassion. There is no blame here, but there is responsibility. And responsibility is where power lives. One of the most uncomfortable truths about bullying is this. Parents are often reactive, not proactive. And again, that reaction comes from love. When your child is hurting, your instincts fire, your heart races, and your thoughts narrow. You want the pain to stop now. So you act. You send emails, you book meetings, you confront teachers, you speak to other parents, you threaten escalation, and sometimes that works, temporarily. But often it doesn't solve the underlying issue, because bullying is not just an external problem, it's an internal-external loop. And when we intervene externally before the child has internal tools, the loop stays intact. Now here's the hard truth most parents don't want to hear. Running into the school rarely fixes bullying long term. It might stop this child, it might stop this behaviour, it might stop this moment, but unless your child's internal state has changed, the pattern repeats, it reappears. Different child, different setting, the same feeling. This is why I've worked with teenagers who were removed from schools at age 8, only to face the same dynamics again when they return at age 13. And parents who are exhausted by then and often confused and angry and hopeless. And they often say things like, we did everything right, we protected them, we moved them, and they did with the information they had. But protection without preparation becomes fragility. Preparation becomes strength. And this is where schools come into the conversation. So, I've worked with incredible teachers, people who genuinely care, but people who are overworked, under-resourced, emotionally stretched, and I need to be honest with you, schools aren't designed to resolve bullying at the level that parents expect. They are designed to manage risk, manage behaviour, and liability, not to rebuild confidence, not to retrain identity, and not to teach embodied self-belief. So when a school says, we've dealt with it, what they usually mean is, we've addressed the incident. But incidents are not the issue. Dynamics are. And this is why parents feel dismissed. They go in emotional, and the school responds with their procedures. And both sides leave frustrated. Neither is wrong, they're just operating from different frameworks. Another uncomfortable truth that you need to hear is this. You can't solve bullying for your child. And this is one of the hardest things for parents to actually accept, because everything in you wants to step in. But when you solve it for them, you rob them of something critical. You rob them of agency, and you rob them of the experience of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the belief, I can handle hard things. And without that belief, confidence never stabilizes. Here's what often happens. When parents over-rescue, the child thinks, someone else will fix this, or I can't handle this on my own. And that belief quietly shapes how they approach future challenges. This doesn't mean you abandon your child, it just means you support without replacing their agency. You stand beside them, not in front of them. Parenting is this challenging parents of protection and empowerment. Now, another uncomfortable truth we need to address is emotional triggers. Bullying doesn't just activate the child's past, it activates the parent's past too. Now, many parents watching this were actually bullied themselves, or they were excluded, or they were humiliated, or made to feel small. And that's just a normal part of life growing up. We all experience it in some way or another. So when your child goes through it themselves, something old wakes up. That anger, that fear, that protectiveness. And if we're not aware of that, we end up responding to our own history, not just our child's situation. That's where the decisions become reactive. And that's where tone becomes sharp and where urgency becomes panic. And your child will feel that. Now, they may not have words for it, but they absorb it. Your calm is more protective than your anger. Your clarity is more stabilizing than your urgency. Here's another truth that's really, really important for you to understand. The trauma of bullying is not linked to severity. Now, this confuses parents. They think it was only words, it was only physical, it wasn't that bad. The trauma isn't measured by what happened. It's measured by the child's ability to feel, process, recover. One child shrugs off comments, another carries them deeply. Neither response is right or wrong. They're just different nervous systems. So we don't minimize and we don't catastrophize. We train recovery. Another truth that challenges a lot of messaging is you cannot prevent bullying altogether. And I know this is uncomfortable. You see posters, assemblies, policies, zero tolerance, bully-free school, and while those intentions are good, they create false safety. Bullying is an expression of the human condition. Wherever there is hierarchy, insecurity, group dynamics, bullying can emerge. This doesn't mean we accept it. It means we stop pretending that policy alone can solve it. The real question isn't how do we eliminate bullying, it's how do we ensure our child can handle it when it appears. Because it will, in school, at work, in relationships, and children who learn early how to stand in discomfort become adults who don't collapse under pressure. Now, another uncomfortable truth is that parents often do too much talking and not enough training. We explain, we analyze, we reassure, we lecture, but confidence is not cognitive first, it's embodied. Children don't rise to what they understand, they rise to what they've practiced, which is why advice without repetition rarely sticks. And this is where we're going next, because now that we've cleared the myths, we can now look into what actually works. And before we do, I want you to pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, how have my actions so far been stopping the pain or building my child's strength? There's no shame in the answer, only information. And if this section has challenged you as a parent in a good way, subscribe now. Because in the next section, we're going to move into the second set of uncomfortable truths, the ones about bullies, power, words, empathy, and why children accidentally keep the cycle going. This is where things will really start to shift. I just released a full no-fluff workshop breaking down everything I know about bullying, the uncomfortable truths, the mistakes that parents make, and the exact 6-step system that has helped thousands of children transition through bullying, the stuff that actually works. So, if your child is being bullied, or you want to make sure they never become a victim of bullying, then watch the full video. Make sure you subscribe, because this is the work that changes your child's life.